Just how Jewish was Jesus? Let's find out. Let's compare religious forms. In first century Israelite political religion, genealogy plays an essential role. Descent is strictly patrilineal, meaning that the genealogies found in the Bible, including those in Matthew and Luke, emphasize lineage from the Father. The New Testament presents two genealogies asserting that Jesus is a descendant of the Israelite patriarchs and of King David, who originates from Israelite heritage, specifically through the tribe of Judah. By contrast, in later Jewish fictive domestic religion, genealogy always takes a backseat to the sense of belonging within the Jewish community. Here, matrilineal descent, descent through the mother, is what truly counts. Similar to Muslims and Christians, any claim of descent from Father Abraham leans more toward mythological rather than factual genealogical ties. Also, first century Israelites were henotheists, whereas Judaism, along with its sibling religions Christianity and Islam, is firmly monotheistic. It is crucial that we learn the difference and understand that henotheism and monotheism are not interchangeable.
If you take formal courses and you study the Old Testament, they will ask you, when did monotheism emerge in Israel? And what's the answer to that question? The received view, the traditional view. When does monotheism first emerge? Isaiah is usually, and second Isaiah for sure, second Isaiah. So it's post-exile, post-587. That's the traditional acceptable view. If you put that down on a test, I won't dock you for it, but that's wrong. But that's okay, because that's the traditional view, what everybody says. In 1 Corinthians 8, Paul says there are many lords and many gods. Ours is the best, of course. So he's a henotheist. The henotheist is one who believes in my God, one among many. One among many. A monotheist is one who believes one and only one God. That is just about impossible to find in the Bible. Monotheism, one and only one God. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. What about yours? Well, forget yours. What do we care about yours?
The Bible rarely presents monotheism, if at all. Judaism encompasses a rich tapestry of practices and traditions rooted in the Talmuds, many of which were unfamiliar to Jesus and the Israelites of his day. The Talmuds were written centuries after Jesus and Paul. One of the traditions that's quite significant is the bar mitzvah. You might have seen and experienced bar mitzvahs, beautiful ceremony. Or perhaps a bat mitzvah. Folks, these were developed long after Jesus, Paul, and the other New Testament characters. The framework of rabbis, as we know it, and the synagogue as a place of worship, began to develop only in the late 1st century of the Common Era, long after the time of Jesus and Paul. In the Jewish tradition, a rabbi is an ordained teacher and scholar of Jewish law, a respected religious leader. Today, the term rabbi designates an official ordained religious ministerial position. However, during New Testament times, it was primarily a term of respect for great ones. The word rabbi comes from the Hebrew term rab, which means Lord or Master. But Jesus was a Jewish rabbi who taught in Jewish synagogues, wasn't he? He taught there on the Jewish Sabbath. Really? Let's consider the relevance of synagogues. In the Jewish religion as we understand it today and see it practiced, synagogues function as community centers for religious worship and instruction. How about in the 1st century? Scholar Heather McKay has compellingly demonstrated that synagogues did not evolve into their present form until at least 200 Common Era. During the time of Jesus and the time of Paul, synagogues were more akin to community gathering places where Israelite men met to read and discuss the Torah and other political religious texts, including books like Isaiah. The synagogues Jesus and Paul knew were not places of worship.
There were no synagogues really, as we understand synagogues, till 200 AD. Synagogues as a place of worship developed in reaction to Messianists and their services. Otherwise, the synagogue basically was a community center. Like, are you familiar with Greek coffee houses? Wherever you live has a Greek section of the city, and you go there, what did the men do? They hang out in the coffee house, just men, no women. And what do? They spit, cuss, play cards, smoke, talk, whatever. It's what it is, discussion group. So when Jesus goes to the synagogue in his ministry, what are the men doing there? Spitting, cussing, drinking coffee, smoking, whatever they're doing, and discussing the Torah.
For Jesus and Paul, the Sabbath was a day of rest, not worship. The idea of the Sabbath as a day of worship emerged only later, in reaction to the assemblies of Messianist Israelites, often anachronistically labeled early Christians, who gathered to celebrate the Lord's Supper on the seventh day. As we consider how Jewish Jesus truly was, it becomes evident that, in terms of religious practices and forms, the connection is tenuous at best. How Jewish was Jesus? Speaking about religious forms, practice, and identity? Not at all.